How did Ed Gein go from a quiet, harmless farm boy
How do you do?
to the guy who digs up graves and turns corpses into furniture?
You're working too fast.
Yeesh. What you're about to see inspired Psycho, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Silence of the Lambs. So you might want to leave the lights on for this one. This is Monster, the Ed Gein story. Look, I'm gonna be straight with you, I definitely dreaded covering this one. The show just dropped as the 3rd season of Netflix's Monster series. Same team behind Dahmer and the Menendez brothers. And even the slightest of its visuals are easily nightmare fuel to me. The series hit the top 10 of Netflix the week it came out, but that doesn't mean it's good. Critics tore this thing apart. It's sitting at a 20% on Rotten Tomatoes, the lowest of all the Monster seasons. Ryan Murphy, the director, keeps getting hammered for dragging these stories out and prioritizing shock value over substance. Definitely not great for stories that are about real-life people. I mean, this guy dug up graves, wore human skin, and was obsessed with his mother to the point where he tried to become her. That's the actual case. But instead of sticking to that, the show just stretches it out to the point it almost feels fictional. But anyway, I'll let you decide how you feel about it. So let's just begin. The show starts in Plainfield, Wisconsin in 1944. Ed Gein lives on a lonely farm with his mother, Augusta, a strict, deeply religious woman who condemns every woman in town as sinful. Peak pick-me-girl behavior. On top of that, Augusta is also the family matriarch. She controls everything Ed does. Everything he thinks.
You will never touch a woman. You won't be marrying one. And you won't be spilling your seed with one. You understand me? It's sin, Eddie.
So yeah, Ed's not allowed to even think about women, but of course he does anyway. Cut to later, we find out that Ed is seeing this woman called Adeline, and she's showing him photos of Holocaust victims from Ilse Koch, a Nazi war criminal who's kind of famous for fashioning lampshades from the skins of Jewish people. Anyway, as Ed looks through these photos, he can't stop thinking about it. Back on the farm, Ed's brother Henry plans to leave with his girlfriend, and he tells Ed to do the same, to get away from their mother's control. Yep, she's one insanely controlling woman. But instead of listening to him, Ed snaps at Henry for speaking about Augusta. And this leads to an argument, and in the heat of it, Ed kills him with a log. First murder already. He then hallucinates that Henry got back up, saying he'll make things right with their mother. But when the hallucinations fade, Ed finds Henry's body and realizes what he's done. As a result, he panics and sets the field on fire, and he runs back to the house for help.
What's all the shouting for?
Fire got out of control. I can't find Henry. He was here. You try to find him. I'll go into town for help.
No, I'll fetch the police. You go find him, Eddie.
And it works. The cops show up, buy the story, and conclude that Henry died from the smoke. Yeah, that's right. Ed just killed his brother and just walked away clean. Still, Henry's death sends Augusta into shock, and she suffers her first stroke. Ed then naturally becomes her caretaker, tending to her day and night. Then out of nowhere, the show just cuts to Ilse Koch, brutalizing Jewish prisoners in a concentration camp. It's jarring and honestly really hard to watch. But this is what's living in Ed's mind now. As Augusta begins to recover, she and Ed visit a neighbor when she sees a woman begging a man not to kill her dog. She's horrified at the scene, and the sight triggers another stroke. This time, though, she doesn't make it. After the funeral, Ed's left alone in the farmhouse, and that's when he starts hearing Augusta's voice out of nowhere. She starts telling him that she isn't gone and that she can still be with him. Damn it, is anybody else uncomfortable yet? If not, you probably are gonna start getting there here soon. Days go by, and he keeps hearing her voice, and it feels like she's calling him to her. So, one night, Ed finally listens. He sneaks into the cemetery and digs up his mother's grave. And when he can't reach her coffin, her voice tells him to bring another woman instead.
Just dig up this laying next to me.
What? Anywho, since he's such a mama's boy, Ed actually does it, and he takes the body home, cleans it up, and sits her in his mother's chair, like he's waiting for her to talk. The episode then closes on him, alone in that quiet farmhouse, the corpse resting where his mother once sat. The next episode opens with Ed, and oh boy, it is already weird. Like, he's hallucinating, like full-on seeing Jewish inmates chasing him through what looks like a freaking nightmare. Then boom, we cut straight to 1959. We're having dinner with Alfred Hitchcock. Now, if you don't know, Alfred's the guy behind some of the most famous thrillers ever made. He's directed films like Rear Window, Vertigo, and Psycho. The dude lived for suspense and loved freaking people out, so he's having dinner with his wife and the author of Psycho, talking about grave robbing, just like it's another Tuesday. Hitchcock's clearly fascinated by Ed. After all, Ed Gein was the inspiration behind Psycho, and as they talk about him, we see just how twisted Ed's little grave robbing hobby had gotten. Cut back to the present, we see Ed on a date with Adeline. Man, and here I can't even get a frickin' text back. I heard this whole era of Ed dating people was fictional. Some records even say he died a virgin, but let's just focus on the recap because I can't keep rambling about how fictional this series is. So Adeline's talking about moving to New York, and she says she's into taking pictures of crime scenes and all that stuff. Weird flex, but Ed's into it. Then he goes, "Oh yeah, I made a bowl out of human skull once." Yeesh. She laughs thinking he's joking, but, well, he wasn't. Ed then invites Adeline over to see it, and they walk into his house, and the place looks like a damn war zone. Then he goes, "Oh, you haven't met Mother yet." So they head upstairs, and poor Adeline spots a chair made out of human skin.
What is it?
It's a nipple.
Adeline's freaking out, and honestly, who wouldn't? I was sure she would bail right there, but nope, she stays. And then there's Mom sitting in a chair, back turned, except, it's the body he dug up. When Augusta doesn't respond to whatever bullcrap Ed's saying, Adeline freaks out and bolts. It's about damn time. Ed's furious now and he's spiraling fast, so he grabs his rifle and goes to the local tavern to drown his misery. And there he meets Mary Hogan, the owner of the tavern. Things turn sour when Mary offers to set him up with some woman. Ed snaps, shoots her point blank, drags her body out, and disappears into the night. We cut back to the future and see Hitchcock taking the lead actor, Anthony Perkins, to Ed's house on set. Inside are skulls and preserved, parts. Perkins starts freaking out. Turns out he's got his own issues, and something about his sexuality too. Anyway, Psycho hits theaters and the famous shower scene plays. But instead of Janet Leigh, it's Adeline getting stabbed by Ed. No clue why the show did that, but whatever. The crowd walks out horrified, but Hitchcock's thrilled. Dude's like, "Hell yeah, I traumatized everybody."
I like the screaming.
I'll be in the car. I trust you'll join me.
In the next episode, Ed is strutting around in his mother's clothes, wearing a mask made from Mary's skin. Yeah, I think it's safe to say this man is officially checked out of reality. If you're wondering where the cops are in all of this, you don't have to look far. They finally show up at Ed's door and ask for his whereabouts. And this dude hits him with the, "I was home with Augusta." Bruh. When they mention someone saw his truck at Mary's bar, he doubles down and caps it off with a classic, "Look that way" distraction.
She had a past, in Chicago. Shady element she might have still been involved with.
Cops are seriously so frustrating sometimes. Later, Adeline meets with Ed at the diner, and they talk for a bit, and she pulls out some photos.
Who's she?
Christine Jorgensen.
Oh no, not the photos. Last time she did that, we all know how it turned out. These ones show a trans woman before and after surgery. And Ed being Ed, he latches onto it with that weird, unreadable way. He tells her he's got a surprise for her and hurries off. Next we see he's digging up another grave. This time around, Ed doesn't take the body, he just steals a ring off the corpse's finger. After that, the couple go on another date, and things seem almost normal for a second. Then, Ed decides to take Adeline to a cemetery. This legit never happened, but whatever. Ed proposes right there, and she says yes. And boom, they're engaged. After that, these two lovebirds start getting steamy. In a graveyard? It's getting heated, and you just know where this is headed. But right when it's about to happen, Ed pulls back and mumbles that he doesn't want to. Unless it's to have kids. Yep, Augusta's just still running the show, even from her grave. Adeline reassures him it's just because he hasn't been around kids much. So naturally, she asks him to babysit some. Which, yeah, that's a terrible idea. He babysits the kids, but he ends up creeping them out. Ed literally shows them a decomposed head. Those poor kids, in a day and age without LiveLeak where they can just find it on their own, they're being forced to see this. The parents lose it and tell him to stay far, far away. Later, Ed spots Evelyn, who's just returned after recovering from polio. Side note, Evelyn's case was also sort of fictional. So anyway, Evelyn used to babysit the same kids, and now that she's back, Ed's pissed that she took his place and confronts her on the street, but he doesn't stop there. That night, he kidnaps her while she's babysitting. Meanwhile, Perkins is finally finding some peace. Therapy's working. He's starting to see women differently, but Hitchcock? He's now dealing with an audience that just wants more psycho. We then cut back to Plainfield, where Ed makes sure Evelyn never sees the light of day. He ties her up and then makes Augusta's fake corpse attack her with a hammer. And to really drive it home, the show cuts between this and clips from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Wow. So in the next episode, Adeline finally steps into Augusta's room, spins the chair around, and bam! She's staring at a rotting corpse. Took you long enough. Anyway, Ed's out in the barn wrapping up Evelyn's body. Then he hears Adeline screaming. Uh-oh. Adeline books it back to her place with Ed right behind her. She locks the front door, but he finds another way in. And oh boy, she's demanding some answers. Finally, she's asking some questions. Ed admits the corpse is just a random woman he dug up from the cemetery, but here's where things get really weird, if they haven't been already. You think Adeline would be horrified, right? No. She's weirdly curious about it, then casually drops that death doesn't bother her. Red flag much? Cut to Ed at the hardware store buying limes. He starts chatting with the owner, Bernice Warden, who's clearly going through something. Ed convinces her to grab lunch with him, and she opens up about an affair she had with a married man. They hit it off, go skating, then head back to her place. One glass of wine later, they hook up.
Come on, Eddie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yuck. Afterward, Bernice straight up asks Ed to move in with her. Ed hesitates because he's still hung up on Adeline, but Bernice shuts that down. She tells him to forget about her and start packing, so Ed goes home to do exactly that, until he hallucinates his dead mom again. Augusta tells him Bernice is a harlot with an STD.
That hardware store lady, she's a town bicycle. Everybody's had a ride.
Yeah, that's enough to flip Ed's switch, and he's done with Bernice now. How great is Sheldon's mom as Augusta, by the way? The next day, Ed shows up at Bernice's shop to end things. They argue, but instead of just leaving like a normal person, Ed gets a gun and shoots her in the head. Here we go again. He then drags her body back to the barn, guts it, and hangs it upside down. Just when you think it can't get any worse, the show cuts to two hunters who have wandered off the trail and end up in Ed's barn. They see everything, and Ed sees them. He then grabs a chainsaw and chases them. How the hell is this guy lugging a 20-pound chainsaw outpacing two hunters with a flashlight? Make it make sense to me. Top 10 things that have never happened. Then smash cut to Adeline. Ed shows her Bernice's body, and she's not disgusted. She's fascinated.
She didn't see it coming, so...
Are you kidding me? From there, the episode switches gears, and we jump to filmmaker Tobe Hooper, who's also obsessed with Ed's case. In 1973, he turned that obsession into the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. On set, he's explaining Leatherface to the cast, while the show cuts back to Ed actually wearing his skin suit. To wrap it all up, we then flash back to those hunters, Ed catches up to them, and the chainsaw does the rest. So in the next episode, we see Adeline hooking up with a guy named Randy. Wait, isn't she with Ed? Well, damn, anyway, the duo finish up and go their separate ways. Adeline heads home and gets into a fight with her mom. She doesn't want to be a housewife. She's got bigger plans. New York level plans, even. Later, she meets Ed in a restaurant and drops the bomb. She's leaving for a job in New York City. She tries to get Ed to come with her, but he can't leave his mommy behind yet. On the drive back, Adeline hits him with the breakup bomb. But Ed's going on about and starting a family. Real smooth timing, dude. But Adeline's just not feeling it. She tells him to find someone else, but Ed says no woman in town wants him. And Adeline just suggests he should sleep with a corpse instead. What? Are you serious right now? The show is so on the nose. Anyway, they head to a graveyard, dig up a fresh body, and Ed has with it. Twice. I genuinely wish I was kidding right now. To add more, all of this Adeline stuff is so completely fictional that it's genuinely making me mad right now. Like, I mean, who knows what happened between them? But there are literally no records of Adeline being this stupid and depraved. Cut to Adeline in New York, and it's a total dumpster fire. She's broke, freezing off in an empty apartment with no heat, and her big job interview was an absolute disaster. The guy basically calls her useless to her face. So she goes back home sobbing, and a tear literally freezes on her face, and that's how cold it is. So yeah, when she'd had enough, she finally snaps and goes after her landlord, but she gets brushed off and Adeline just loses it. She beats the woman to death, grabs the cash, and bounces. Just like that, the city girl is on to the next train back to Wisconsin. Meanwhile, the show just briefly cuts back to Ilsa getting arrested and locked up. Ed even reads about it in a magazine. Anyway, back at home, Adeline's mom asks how the interview went. Adeline breaks down, calls herself a failure with no talent, and her mom doesn't even argue. She just agrees, which is sad as hell. Then, just to twist the knife, her mom admits that she tried to abort her until it didn't work. So now Adeline is just sitting there, realizing her own mother never even wanted her in the first place. Adeline's mom literally tells her to go find a husband who will put up with her BS.
Find a husband who will put up with your lunatic.
Ooh, that's just cold. So, Adeline shows up at Ed's place and tries to get intimate, but Ed stops her and says her body's too warm. Too warm? Too warm, man? So what do? She gets in the tub and he starts dumping buckets of ice water on her. Yeah, this guy's gone way past saving. The next episode opens with a flashback. Frank Warden asking his mom, Bernice, to host Thanksgiving this year. She's not feeling it at first, but he convinces her. Cut to the present, and things are about to go real bad. Frank and Sheriff Arthur Shilley pull up to Bernice's store looking for her, but they find blood instead. Frank's in denial, saying it can't be his mom, but Arthur's trying to keep him calm.
That's not her blood. That's not her blood. That's not her blood. Mother ain't dead, okay?
Yeah, good luck with that. Arthur then steps outside and Frank heads into the back room where he finds a gift addressed to Ed Gein. That's when it clicks. They rush over to Ed's farmhouse and it's a nightmare the second they walk in. The place reeks, flies everywhere, body parts laying around like trash. You get the picture.
Sheriff, what is that? What is that?
The moment they realize what they're standing in, they call for backup right away. While the cops are taking photos, Frank bolts to the barn, desperate to find his mom. And there she is, hanging. Oh, sorry. After that, Ed casually rolls up in his truck, totally clueless, like he's just coming home from grocery shopping, and he steps out, looks around, and goes, "What's everybody doing here?" Arthur confronts him on the spot, but Frank loses it, charges out of the barn, and beats the out of Ed.
Come on! That's enough! That's enough!
Yeah, he's gonna feel that in the morning. Honestly, I've been waiting for somebody to punch this dude in the face since the first episode. Meanwhile, Adeline catches wind of Ed's arrest and tries to milk it for attention, but no one cares. The media only cares about Ed and how she's connected. Okay, this actually happened though. All that weird relationship stuff? Yeah, nobody's buying that. Back at the train station, Arthur's grilling Ed about the stuff they found.
I think a lot of this is a big misunderstanding.
What do you mean? What are we misunderstanding?
Ed's just sitting there like, I don't remember killing anyone. Sure, man, but he does admit to digging up graves and keeping little souvenirs. Arthur pushes harder, though, asking about Mary Evelyn and those hunters. We know Ed's behind it, but he keeps denying everything.
He's telling the truth.
After Bernice's funeral, Adeline finally walks up to Frank and asks him what it felt like to see his own mother hanging in the barn. What the hell? Thankfully, Arthur steps in, shuts it down, and then invites Frank over for Thanksgiving. Lunch starts off fine, small talk, food, normal stuff, until Arthur starts carving the turkey. And Frank? All he can see is Ed hacking into his mother. Poor guy's never getting that image out of his head. The next episode kicks off with Frank Warden still reeling from his mom's death. He's basically drowning in booze, and honestly, can you blame him? Arthur calls him to talk about suing Ed's estate, but Frank has something else in mind. He plans to auction off Ed's creepy stuff to get some kind of justice. The auction starts and people lose their minds. Some even pay just to step in the house. Frank takes Ed's old car for a little parade around town to drum up bids. But when he comes back, the house is burned to the ground. Every single item was gone. Just the car left. And, of course, people bid on it like it's a collector's item at Comic-Con. Meanwhile, Ed was sent to a mental hospital instead of a prison, deemed unfit to stand trial because he's too crazy. The nurse hands him $300 proceeds from the auction, and she offers to help him get whatever he wants. Ed asks for 3 ham radios. Totally random, right? But it's so he can call his idols, Ilsa Koch and Christine Jorgensen. Remember the trans woman from the 3rd episode? Yeah, that's Christine. First call, Ilsa. She says she didn't do half the stuff she's accused of, and Ed still insists he hasn't killed anyone. The two spent time on the radio and actually bond over the call.
You're very different than what I imagined you to be, Mr. Gein. Sensitive, kind.
After the call, though, things get dark. Ilsa starts getting haunted by visions of some sort of god, and whatever sanity she was holding on to just slips. Not long after, she hangs herself in prison. Damn, even monsters can't outrun their own mind. Next up, Christine. Ed's hoping she can help him make sense of his identity. But when he starts talking about wearing skin and body parts, she's horrified. She tells him he's not trans, he's just a genophiliac. Basically, Ed's just excessively into women's bodies. After that talk, Ed completely spirals. Voices in his head start telling him to kill. The hallucinations kick in hard. One night he grabs a chainsaw and attacks the head nurse, killing her. But the next morning, she's walking around like nothing happened. Turns out it was all in his head. Not gonna lie though, that scene got me. For a second I thought he was back at it. So Ed finally spills everything to the doctor, right? All the voices, the calls, hallucinations, but there's one thing. The radios were not even on. Every single conversation he had was just him talking to himself.
You're schizophrenic.
All right.
Ed's mind is so fractured that he can't even tell what's real from what's just in his head. There's a bit of light in all of that mess though. Pills that can stop the hallucinations and make him feel almost normal again. For the first time, Ed's actually at peace. Wild, isn't it? The final episode opens in 1970s Washington, where some dude fakes needing help. He asks a young woman for assistance, and the second she gets close, yep, he knocks her out and ties her up. The woman wakes up next to another woman. And the guy? Yeah, it's Theodore Ted Bundy. He tells them exactly what's about to happen, does it, and then comes back later to do even worse things to their bodies. Bundy was a different breed. After all of that, the FBI pays Ed a visit in the hospital. He's calmer now thanks to the meds. They show him photos of Bundy's murders, hoping he can give them something. Eddie studies them for a second and then goes, "That's a hacksaw." He says if they really want to catch this guy, they should check into who's been buying those saws recently. Later on, Ed cut out newspaper articles about Bundy's crimes, and it seems he's trying to figure out Bundy's patterns. Yeah, this universe is becoming so effing fictional. We then move to Illinois, where we meet Richard Speck, the guy who murdered a bunch of student nurses. Another Ed fanboy, because apparently Ed's got groupies now. Speck writes him letters, and one of them mentions some dude who idolizes him and is planning to copy his crimes, targeting a house full of college girls. Ed gets the letter, connects the dots, and tells the cops, and sure enough, Bundy gets caught.
Are breathing a sigh of relief after the arrest of a sadistic serial killer.
Check on your own time if this actually happened. I'm too busy trying not to worry about fictional crap. Time passes, and then the bad news hits. Ed got stage 4 lung cancer, and it's too late for treatment. So Ed just keeps doing his thing, living out his final days. One day, Adeline visits. Ed hasn't seen her in years. He's disappointed she never wrote or called. Adeline admits she's struggling with the same kind of mental illness Ed has, except hers comes with a kill list. Ed tells her to get on meds, but she refuses. He doesn't want her to go through with it, but what's he gonna do? He tells her he loves her, and she leaves. Fiction, fiction, fiction. Sometime later, Ed takes his last breath. Yeah, after all these years, he finally reunites with his mother. But the show's not done yet. It cuts to a group of teens dragging Ed's headstone down the street. One of them spots someone from a distance. It's Norman Bates. Then Buffalo Bill and Leatherface 2 show up out of nowhere. The guy freaks out and jumps in the truck, taking off with the rest of them. Meanwhile, Ed's watching with a little smile on his face before he revs up a chainsaw and starts swinging it around. In the final scene, Ed and his mom sit on a porch. Augusta turns to him with one final thought.
Only a mother could love you.
And she's right. Augusta was the person who claimed to love him, and in the end, she's the only one who could. So that's Ed Gein, the guy who inspired half the horror villains you know. And here's the thing, the real story was already terrifying. Ed killed 2 confirmed people, and the show bumped it up to 6 because apparently Ryan Murphy thought we needed more reasons to lose sleep. To add more, all that Adeline stuff is so fictional, like you gotta actually research on how these people made her look like it's this evil woman when in reality she was just a normal person who gave a bunch of fake testimonies regarding Ed for attention. It's been one hell of a ride covering this one, so definitely let me know your thoughts on this one in the comments, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Yeah, definitely keeping the lights on tonight.